to make of it?
Well, I think we are on the cusp of something interesting. That's for sure.
I do too.
We are cursed to be living in interesting times, as the old Chinese proverb goes. And I can't wait to see what's going to be coming down the road here. If this is the way the year is starting out, that's for sure.
Yeah. Here's another report I'd like to share with our audience, also from Austin, Texas. This was during the lunar eclipse, the blood moon lunar eclipse. Again, I'm talking about January the 20th, 2019. The gentleman writes that he was outside looking at the eclipse, and suddenly his attention was immediately drawn to what he presumes was a meteor streaking directly overhead. And of course, it drew his attention. He focused on it, and almost as soon as he focused on it, he writes, the object disappeared from sight. And just as it disappeared, he became aware that there were two equilateral triangular craft that looked like equilateral triangles, streaking across the sky. He saw them for only about 5 seconds or so.
Oh, my goodness. Peter, hang on just a moment. Hey, Vince, if you're on the line there, buddy, you need to mute your phone for us because you're bleeding into the broadcast. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. Okay. So not one, but two triangular craft were in the vicinity of this overhead meteor. Wow.
Yeah. I'll read what he writes here. It's just a sentence long. He says, I could clearly see the outline of two triangle-shaped objects flying right next to one another, almost as if they were connected. They flew silently for about the next 5 seconds, and then I lost sight of them. So going back to your observation, and I agree wholeheartedly, it's almost as if the UFO field has rounded a corner. It's changed its dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm receiving a lot of reports of not just lights in the sky, which predominate in the field of ufology, but actual palpable, visible craft. I find it to be a little unsettling.
Yeah. No, these are not, large stars in the night sky any longer. These are up close, and people are actually making out, the craft and their shape and those kinds of things. That's fascinating stuff.
Yep.
Well, I think we have time for, we have time for one or two more.
One or two, good. I just turned to another report. This is, again, on the subject of visible craft. This comes from Tucson, Arizona, the 22nd, I guess that's Tuesday of this past week. At 11:07 p.m. local time, a young woman writes that she was driving north on a road towards the Catalina Mountains, and as she drove to the north, her attention was drawn to her left, to the west, and she saw at least 7 intensely bright lights. And the more she looked at it, the more intrigued she became, so she stopped her car and got a much better look at them than she could when she was driving. And then she realized that the lights were probably not more than, she writes, 3 to 4 blocks away from her, but she could see a craft that the lights were attached to.
Oh.
Rectangular craft is her impression, as I recall, and she could tell that there was some kind of object on the dorsal side of the craft that projected upwards, almost like a vertical stabilizer or a rudder, if you will.
Right.
And this, rather than have me read it, I would encourage anybody who might be interested in looking at this report to go to UFOcenter.com, again, for the 22nd of January, 11:07 p.m., Tucson, Arizona. And if we have time for one more,
yeah,
I'd like to share one from Oakland, California. This was the 24th. That's, I guess, 2 days ago, Thursday night at 6:49 p.m. A gentleman called the hotline about this. I spoke with him for several minutes. He was very, very convincing. very eloquent, very serious-minded, it seemed. And he reports that at 6:49 p.m. Pacific time on the 24th of January, he saw two lights in the constellation Orion. And he was familiar enough with that constellation to know immediately that they didn't belong there. They were, he writes, brighter than Sirius. The star Sirius, of course, is just to the left of Orion as you face that constellation and just below the feet of Orion. And he emphasizes that the lights were very strange in appearance. They were moving very rapidly, he writes, saw them for about 10 seconds, he estimates, and then both lights just seemed to suddenly disappear from his sight. That, I don't think, I've forgotten whether that report is posted. I don't think it is quite yet. I think it may be posted to our homepage.
Okay.
So if people would like to read the text of this, they can go to the homepage and read what this witness had to write. Very nicely prepared report, which means a lot to me. It means a lot it says a lot about the reliability of the report and of the witness, in my opinion.
Oh my goodness! Well, that is a full slate of sighting reports tonight that run the gamut. We've got an alien robot in Federal Way, Washington, sighted by a witness, and we've got lunar eclipse issues in Ireland on January 20th, and then we got daytime sightings in Austin, Texas, and in Tucson we've got that multiple, or at least two rectangular. The Tucson is the rectangular one. Oh my gosh! And then lights in the Orion belt area. Oh gosh! Thank you for all of these interesting. Oh, I'll bet we're cutting you off early. I'm sorry about that, but listen, I want to encourage everyone to go to the National UFO Reporting Center, to UFOcenter.com, to check out all this amazing database that Peter has put together and keeps updating. Every month, basically, there's new stuff. Every week, there's new stuff. And if you're inclined, I would like you to be able to feel free to send him a couple bucks. Send him a check with $10 if you can afford it, because we need to keep this stuff rolling in on the sighting report so we can all benefit from hearing them. That's for sure. And this, let me correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, but your P.O. box there is Peter Davenport, P.O. Box 700, Davenport, Washington. And what's the zip?
The zip code is 99122. 99122.
Okay, so again, that's Peter Davenport, and that is P.O. Box 700, Davenport, Washington, which is easy to remember with Peter Davenport, and 99122. So, Peter, thank you so much for your appearance tonight and these really titillating reports.
Thank you. Thanks for the airtime, as always, Michael, and thanks for the comment on donations. We can always put them to good use for paying the phone bill and the website bill and all of the other expenses we have in order to get this information to the world's population. So,
yes, by the way, Peter doesn't just sit there and take the phone calls. He actually goes to conferences and spreads the word about these sighting reports. So, he needs some travel money every once in a while, too. So whatever you can afford to send would be very helpful to him, I'm sure.
Well, thank you, Michael, and I'm going to be tuning in. I want to hear what Chad and Vince have to say. So, thanks for the time. Always a pleasure to work with you. You're doing a wonderful job. You've become a seasoned broadcaster in just a few months, and I compliment you for that.
Oh, coming from you, Peter, that is just awesome. Thank you so much. Yep. You have a wonderful night.
You too. Thanks again, Michael. Good night.
Yep. All right. Bye now. Bye now. Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine all of that happening just in 1 week since we last heard from Peter last weekend? And I think the thing that jumps out for me right now is this alien robot sighted in Federal Way, Washington on January 13th. Oh, my gosh. The lady's walking her dog in the warehouse campus property. Warehouse is a big logging company here in the state of Washington, worldwide actually. And in that area there, she says she sees these multiple lights hovering over the trees. Then all of a sudden she sees this robot that tries to communicate with her, she's saying, with some kind of noise or voice. So that reminds me of that Pascagoula, Mississippi case. Fascinating stuff. Well, I believe we still have Vince Inzunza on the line, and we need to get Vince on here from Pacific Northward and find out what's going on. He's always on the road somewhere. Vince, are you there?
I am here, Michael. How are you?
Oh, wonderful, buddy. Gosh, you are at an exciting location and event this weekend, I understand. Would you tell us all about it?
Yeah, I am at the Cowlitz County Sasquatch Fest 2019, and it's a one-day festival that happens once a year, and I love it. It's great. And Cliff Barackman has spoken. Bobo from Finding Bigfoot has been here.
Oh, wonderful.
It's been awesome.
Well, oh my gosh. I mean, you got the heavyweights there. You got Cliff Barackman from Finding Bigfoot there, and Bobo's tagging along with him. I bet those guys are having a lot of fun together.
Oh, yeah, and I met Bobo for my first time tonight. And Bobo, if you know my hip-hop video, Biggie Got Foot, I name-dropped Bobo in that. And Bobo recognized me from that today. And
oh, fantastic, buddy. Oh,
it was amazing. It was such like a great moment to have one of your heroes recognize you from a piece of art that you've done. You know, I'm just a lowly Sasquatch investigator. I'm just a lowly person that creates Bigfoot art, and it's really cool that someone with the prestige that Bobo has to recognize me.
Oh, yeah. Bobo Fay, that's fantastic. Matter of fact, didn't Bobo say, after he saw your music video of Biggie Got Foot, which is a fantastic song, by the way, you're an amazing songwriter yourself, that's the best Bigfoot music video he's ever seen.
That is exactly what he said.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so glad that you got there, and we're able to see these guys. Matter of fact, I've seen some of your posts on Facebook. You seem to be having a blast down there. Tell us a little bit about the festival.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. Cliff Barackman, also from Finding Bigfoot, has spoken. I've hung out with him. I've been talking with Gunnar Monson, who does Monster X Radio and also runs Sasquatch Coffee. And we're working on some cool advertisement things with him. Also, right now, a band called Giants in the Trees is getting ready to play, and the main guy in that is Chris Novoselic, who some of you might know as the bassist of Nirvana. And I actually just met Chris Novoselic and got him to sign a weird random picture I have of him holding a fire extinguisher in Chandler, Washington. And Chris signed that for me.
Oh, you've got to post that. That would be fantastic. Giants in the Trees. I like that name for a band. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and they have a hit single called Sasquatch.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I bet it can't hold a candle to Biggie Got Foot, but, we'll have to listen to it.
Right.
Well, what else is going on, buddy?
Well, I had a great conversation tonight with Cliff Barackman about the recent audio tapes I have acquired of Grant Mullins, who claims to be the very first Sasquatch hoaxer.
Yeah.
Grant Mullins was an old man who was born in 1897, and he worked in the Forest Service, Gifford Pinchot National Forest, and decided one day in 1930 to create these